Hey, what's up guys, it's Marv and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 video, and today I wanted to talk about whether or not I think we are going to see another Asphalt game after Asphalt 9. Now, I've seen a lot of talk about Asphalt 10, some supposed leaks and rumors and stuff like that, especially on different Asphalt Discord servers, and as far as I'm aware, there is nothing official at all when it comes to an Asphalt 10. We have heard nothing from Gameloft about that, so there is nothing official, and I just want to disclose before, I upload this video that I know absolutely nothing about a potential Asphalt 10, and I'm not saying whether or not it will or won't happen definitively. These are just my thoughts about what Gameloft might do, what the sort of gaming industry is like, and of course, as you can tell from my tone of voice, this is an unscripted video, so it's more about just me talking about my thoughts about this matter. And of course, I want to hear from you guys. Do you think there will be another Asphalt, or is Asphalt 9 just going to be updated until it dies? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So anyway, about Asphalt 10, like I said, there have been a lot of leaks and rumors about it on Discord and on different social media sites, but as far as I could tell, nothing is official and nothing even looked official. All the time I see different concept videos being uploaded to YouTube, but when I click on one, it's just a re-uploaded trailer of like a Forza game or something, which I find to be really funny. So I guess there are people in this community who are that gullible. So yeah, keep your eye out for fake videos like that, because you shouldn't really believe something like that. If it isn't coming directly from Gameloft, or it isn't like a very trusted source, then more than likely it's not real. So anyway, let's talk about the future of Asphalt, because I talked a bit about the future of the franchise a really long time ago, but as we passed the 5th anniversary of Asphalt 9 and the 10th anniversary of Asphalt 8, it got me thinking a little bit more about what I want from Asphalt in the future, but I also wanted to set my expectations to be a little more realistic, because we have seen recently a huge shift in the gaming industry, where previously we had yearly releases from different franchises. You could look at the Need for Speed franchise as a very obvious example of that. There was a new game every year, and in some years there were more than one game per year, but obviously that has gone away, and now we've seen a mentality of game developers releasing one game but then updating it for as long as possible. So there's examples on both sides where you have a game from a franchise that's really been updated, but then eventually after a very long time they announce a new game, sort of like Counter-Strike, where that was over 10 years old and we finally have Counter-Strike 2, but there are also some other franchises that have their mainline game that have been updated, but they have side releases every once in a while. I think a good example of that would be the Rainbow Six franchise, but I'm not super familiar with it. But we sort of saw an attempt of that with the Asphalt franchise. After Asphalt 8 released and before Asphalt 9 released, there were a bunch of spin-off games, and those 3 main spin-off games were Asphalt Street Storm, Overdrive, and Extreme, and I don't believe all of those were really any super financial successes for Gameloft. Now, at least for Street Storm and Overdrive, those have pretty much been all but shut down, whereas Extreme was bought out by Netflix, so I'm not sure if Gameloft would consider that a big success now that it's only available to Netflix subscribers. So I'm not sure if they realize they'll just get more money by hosting it on Netflix, but either way, the original app or game of Asphalt Extreme is shut down. So in my opinion, I don't think Gameloft will see these spin-offs as very big financial successes. They'll probably look at the mainline Asphalt for, well, their main source of revenue from the Asphalt franchise. And that leaves us with Asphalt 9. It released back in 2018, and now it is over 5 years old. Now, there was this little thing called Asphalt Nitro 2 that kind of got released in like a weird Gameloft store, but as far as I'm aware, Gameloft haven't said anything about that since then. But the Asphalt Nitro games is really just a version of Asphalt for every single device that can run it, so more of just a downgraded graphical version of Asphalt 9. So I don't know if I really consider it to be a completely separate game, because obviously all of their attention is really going to be focused on Asphalt 9 or any other big game that they release. So now that this game is over 5 years old, we have seen it become a very big success. I mean, when you think of racing games on mobile, that is really one of the biggest games that you think of. Every time I see a new phone review or something like that on YouTube, more than likely if they show off a racing game, it's going to be Asphalt 9. It's just the go-to game. Now, compared to other like PC or console franchises, I really don't know how Asphalt 9 stacks up. We obviously have Asphalt on pretty much every single platform now, which is really cool. But in terms of popularity, when it comes to like Forza, Need for Speed, that sort of thing, I'm not really too sure because I haven't seen the full numbers and whatnot. And even on mobile, it's really hard to tell how big of a success it is, especially because there is also a separate Chinese version of Asphalt 9. But obviously we are still getting updates for this game. If the game wasn't successful, well, Gameloft wouldn't have any reason to update it. We've seen that be the case with GT Racing 2. That game wasn't very successful, so Gameloft stopped updating it pretty early on. And we can even see that with Asphalt 8 on the opposite side, where even though Gameloft tried really hard to push everyone towards Asphalt 9, Asphalt 8 was just still going on, so they moved it to a new studio and it is still getting updates. So going back to that whole thing of how the game development industry is really changing and shifting towards updating games towards the long term instead of releasing new games every year, I feel like for the near future, that's going to be the case with Asphalt 9. It really feels like Gameloft doesn't have a reason to make an Asphalt 10. It would be a huge investment that they would have to make because honestly, going from Asphalt 8 to Asphalt 9 was one of the shortest leaps, both in terms of gameplay and in terms of graphics that we've seen in the Asphalt franchise. Granted, that's because earlier on in mobile gaming, things were developing at a way quicker speed than they have been recently. And don't get me wrong, Asphalt 8 to 9 was a pretty big jump, but the core gameplay idea was still kind of the same. We still have barrel rolls and flat spins, that sort of thing, but the way that you use nitro and the way that the cars handle is very, very different. But overall, Asphalt has now found its core identity, and there isn't really a huge reason to stray away from that now that people have a gameplay in mind, or at least a style in mind when they think of the word Asphalt. So they'd have to hire a huge team to make an Asphalt 10, invest in huge engine upgrades, new ideas, test things that aren't proven, or they could just keep updating Asphalt 9. Now, in my opinion, obviously Asphalt 9 is getting a little boring now that we've started to see a trend where we get maybe a new track or a new car, but that's really it. Like I've said in multiple videos before, I think we need something drastic to really change the way that we play Asphalt 9 in order to keep it very interesting. Now, the esports side of things has really kept me going. I really love casting. I love watching the tournaments. That's really fueled me. So I really hope in the future Gameloft can expand upon that because I think that's the direction that this game can go. But that's a topic for another discussion. Do I think Asphalt 9 is the last Asphalt? In my opinion, yeah, I feel like this is going to be the last Asphalt up until Gameloft can see that sort of intersection point between investing in a completely new game and just keeping the current team and updating it. I don't think they're gonna have a big reason to, well, invest all that money to make a new game because they have a success, they have Asphalt 9, why not just keep updating it? That's kind of what the entire industry has been doing. And unless Asphalt 9 gets like a huge second wind many years in the future where suddenly interest has sparked really massively in the franchise and it makes sense for them to release a whole new game, I don't think Gameloft has a really good excuse to make a new game. It feels like the best way, the easiest route to just continue the Asphalt franchise for now is to just continue updating Asphalt 9. So anyway guys, I know this video was a bit more all over the place. Like I said earlier, I don't really have a script for this video. I was just sort of talking about what's on my mind when it comes to this franchise. So yeah, for now it really just seems like Asphalt 9 is going to keep getting updated. Now before I end the video, I do want to quickly mention that Gameloft Barcelona did develop 2 games recently. They developed not only Asphalt 9, but also Disney Speedstorm, I think it's called, which is confusing with Asphalt Streetstorm. But anyway, they obviously had to make that, and so they had to have 2 teams where I assume one team was developing the Disney game while another team was developing Asphalt 9, or at least updating it, because obviously Asphalt 9 has already been developed in the main sense. So now, do they have free developers, or at least a bigger team, to work on Asphalt 9? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to distribute their developers. Maybe now they do have a bunch of people who can work on a new Asphalt game, or maybe that means that we'll see more updates for Asphalt 9. I think that's really the part where Gameloft can sort of choose what they want to do. And I think that's really the only question that we have around, you know, whether or not Asphalt 9 is getting a new game. Because if the only team at Gameloft Barcelona was the people who develop Asphalt 9 and they just continue to update Asphalt 9, then it'd be pretty easy to say, all right, doesn't make sense to invest new people and make a whole new game. They'll just sort of stay where they're at. But they obviously have the workforce to make an entire new game while updating Asphalt 9 at the same time. So who knows, there is some potential there for something new. Alright guys, I know that was a bit of a doozy, but I hope you enjoyed watching. Now again, let me know your comments and your thoughts about this down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.